Welcome back to the channel with Mr. Chen. As you can see, this lesson is about the introduction to agriculture, and of course this lesson is suitable for grade 10 students who have just started the CXC syllabus. Subtopics to be covered in this lesson are: number 1, definition of agricultural science and agriculture; 2, history of agriculture in pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial times in the Caribbean; and number 3, conventional versus non-conventional farming methods. Without further ado, let us get into the lesson. Please stay in tune. Now, the definition of agricultural science and agriculture. Agricultural science is a broad, multidisciplinary field that encompasses the natural, economic, and social sciences that are used in the practice and understanding of agriculture. So basically, what you should gather from this definition is that agricultural science is broader than agriculture. Now, some branches of natural sciences are: 1, chemistry; 2, physics; 3, biology. So agricultural science basically involves those subjects or field of study as well. Some branches of economic sciences are: 1, human psychology; 2, social psychology. Some branches of social sciences are: anthropology; 2, sociology; 3, social psychology. So what you can see is that agricultural science basically covers a wide range of subjects or courses. Alright, and agriculture is a part of it. Definition of agriculture. Agriculture is the rearing of animals and the growing of plants to satisfy human needs and wants through the use of scientific knowledge and principles. Agriculture places emphasis on 6 branches, namely agronomy, horticulture, animal science, agriculture engineering, agriculture economics, and fishery. So here you see where agriculture is basically focused on the 6 branches, right? And it focuses on plants and animals in particularly. So of course, agriculture is a part, or it is a part of the field of agricultural science. Key points. Agricultural science is the broad field of study. Second point, agriculture is a part of that broad field of studies. And the third part, the subject is agricultural science. Alright, so let us get into the history of agriculture. However, we're going to look at history in 3 eras: the pre-colonial times, the colonial times, and the post-colonial times. Alright, so let's get into it. History of agriculture in pre-colonial times in the Caribbean. Number 1, agriculture was primitive and basically on a survival level. Alright, number 2, people cultivated the land just to get enough food to stay alive. Alright, so that is referred to as subsistent farming. Number 3, tools and technology were very simple, such as digging sticks, stone tools, bow and arrows, spears, etc. Number 4, foods produced were corn, cassava, sheep, etc. Number 5, farming methods practiced were slash and burn, shifting cultivation, etc. So in that era, there weren't a lot of studies, as you know, with today's era. There's not a lot of technology or studies. Alright, so agriculture back then were very simple and the tools were very simple and it was subsistent. Alright, so let's move to the colonial times. Alright, so history of agriculture in colonial times in the Caribbean. So number one, agriculture was done on a large scale commercially. That means it was done for money to make a profit. So those goods were sold. Alright. Number two, conventional farming methods were practiced whereby a large area of land was cultivated and native plants and habitats destroyed. Let us go to point number three. One type of crop was planted in large amounts and that is referred to as monoculture, such as sugarcane, banana, etc. So an example of the conventional farming method is monoculture. That is where one type of crop is planted on a large area of land. So you find out that large amount of lands are used, the land is plowed, a lot of soil organisms are destroyed, a lot of plants are destroyed, etc. Number four, large labor force, manual, and simple tools were used, for example, mills, machines, hoes, axe, etc. Alright, so the labor force was mainly manual, even though there were some form of technology. The technology was not used as much as the manual labor. As you know, the slaves they provide most of the labor, and so a lot of the work was done by them. Let us move to history in the post-colonial times. So, history of agriculture in post-colonial times in the Caribbean. Number one, farming was both subsistent and commercial. Very important, both subsistent and commercial. So, immediately after slavery, persons would have to find food on their own. So, some immediately go into farming just to provide enough food for themselves. But they also learned that agriculture can be done on a commercial basis. So some of them also went and farmed enough and sold some of those surplus. Number two, farming methods used were mixed farming, mixed cropping, intercropping, contour farming, which is the hillside farming, strip cropping, etc. So moving, what you realize is that persons now started to move from monoculture and they start to take on different types of farming or different farming methods. Number three, non-conventional farming methods. The use of little land space and more airspace started to be practiced, especially on the commercial level, such as greenhouse technology, container farming, vertical farming, etc. So you can see where agriculture is moved from the conventional method to the non-conventional methods. And in short, what that is saying is that more technology is used to do farming and a lot of land space is not used in with these methods. So you have persons doing farming in their homes, actually in their homes, on their buildings, on their veranda, in greenhouses. They are doing vertical farming in these greenhouses. They are doing their aquaponics or hydroponics in their houses, in buildings. And what you find out is that a lot of the biodiversities, the different plants and animals are not destroyed. Also, these type of methods would try to use less chemicals, and so you have a safer environment. So that is where we are now in agriculture. Number four, technology is advanced. Example, tractors, bulldozers, computers, greenhouses, hydroponics, pumps, and drip irrigation systems, etc. So we have a lot of technology now that is used to do our farming now. Alright, so the topic here is conventional versus non-conventional farming methods. So we're basically going to look at the definition of both and examples of both. Alright, so let's start with the conventional farming methods, and as you know, those are old-time methods that were used in the colonial times. Conventional farming refers to farming methods which are designed to produce large quantities of food to be sold for profit. An example of conventional farming is monoculture. And as you know, mono means one, which means the planting of one type of crop on the land, on large areas of land. Second point, it involves large usage of machinery and chemicals. The third point, it involves the usage of large amount of land space and plowing of the land. Right? And number four, the fourth point, it results in the destruction of plants, habitats, and caused pollution. Alright, so as you can see, the conventional farming methods, they are old and they destroy the environment, especially the land and the plants and animals. In other words, they destroy biodiversity. Alright, so let's move to the non-conventional farming methods. The non-conventional farming methods. Non-conventional farming system involves farming techniques that focuses on preserving the environment and land structure by using less land space, more technology, and more air space. So, as you can see from this definition, these farming methods would use less land space, less chemicals, hence they are biodiversity friendly. Alright, so some of these farming methods are, so we have 10 of them. Number one, organic farming. Two, hydroponics. Three, growth boxes. Four, urban farming. Five, peri-urban farming. Six, greenhouse technology. Seven, aquaponics. Eight, the nutrient film technique. Nine, fraud culture. 10, containerized farming. So each of them will be explained in details. Diagrams are provided. So keep watching. Alright, so let's start with organic farming. So this is number one. Organic farming involves mainly the use of plants and animal-based chemicals to produce, and basically limits or lessen the use of inorganic chemicals to produce. Alright, so in short, organic farming here basically excludes the use of inorganic chemicals. Alright, some examples of chemicals that you might be wondering about. We're talking about like fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, plant growth regulators, and animal feed additives. So these chemicals, those that are inorganic, organic farming tend to move away from those chemicals and focus more on practices, right? And we'll get more into some of those practices. Alright, so key point from the definition is that inorganic chemicals are used in organic farming, but it is a last resort. So it is a last resort. Very important. So of course, inorganic chemicals are used, but they are not intentionally used. They are not the preference for this type of farming. It's only used when the farm is at a state where inorganic chemicals have to be used to bring back the farm. Alright? Alright, principles of organic farming. So as I said, there are certain practices that are followed when carrying out organic farming. So these are the principles. I have 6 of them here. So number one, organic farms must be certified. Alright, so if you're an organic farmer, the farm must be certified by the government. Because farmers will tend to say they are organic, they will sell their crops very expensive because they are organic, and that might not be so. So in order to operate an organic farm, it should be certified. And for a farm to be certified as organic, it has a time period of 3 years. It should be practiced for at least 3 years to make sure the crops are organic. Alright? So number two, crop rotation in practice is practiced to maintain soil fertility and control insects. Number three, biological pest control is practiced. For example, ladybird beetles eating aphids, wasps eating caterpillars. So with this type of control, one animal is used to control the other. So biological. Living things are used to control living things. Alright. Number four, it does not use toxic substances. So chemicals that are poisonous to the environment, you try to use less of them. Number 5, manure and compost are preferred fertilizers. So of course, you know you have the inorganic fertilizers such as your NPK, your 2020. Now when you're operating an organic farm, you try to move away from those chemicals and focus on the chicken manure, the rabbit manure, the cow dung, your compost, etc. Number 6, promotes biodiversity. So organic farming would try to keep more plants and animals alive. They will try to use less chemicals that would kill the insects and pests. And they use more natural control. So you would have a variety of animals and plants in this type of farm or on this type of farm. Alright, so let us move into detail with crop rotation. Alright, so this is a part of the organic farming. This is one method that is used, and it is said that this method is used to control both pests and also to maintain nutrients in the soil. So let us get in depth with this method. Crop rotation. Crop rotation is the cultivation of selected crops on the same plot of land, one after the other, after each have been harvested. Alright, crops can be selected based on characteristics such as if the crop, number 1, crops are deep rooted or shallow rooted. Number 2, crops are fruit crops such as your tomato, seed crops such as your bean, leaf crops such as your cabbage, and root crop such as beetroot. So what this is saying is that crops are selected to be planted on a piece of land based on their parts, based on certain characteristics. Now, let us look at this diagram to help with the explanation. Alright, so this is a diagram of crop rotation. So here is the land that the crops will be planted. So we have 3 types of crops that are selected based on their parts consumed. However, they 3 of them will not be planted at once. Alright, so let us explain more in detail. Let's look at the selection. So here we have the string beans. So the fruits from these crops are consumed. Then after string bean is harvested, we are going to plant the cabbage on the land. Now the cabbage here is a leaf crop. Then the next type of crop that we are going to use in this crop rotation is carrots. Now the carrots is a root crop. So the root of this crop is consumed. So as you can see, the crops are selected based on their parts consumed, and they are rotated based on those principles. So we will not plant on the land a leaf crop and then go back and plant a leaf crop after that first leaf crop is harvested. It is very important to start with a legume plant. So say the string beans are planted on this piece of land. After 6 weeks, 7 weeks, or 8 weeks, those string beans would be harvested. Alright? Now after those string beans are harvested, the farmer would not go back and plant string beans on the land. The farmer would go to the second crop of choice, which is cabbage, and plant the cabbage on the land. After the cabbage has been harvested, the farmer will go back and plant carrots on the land, which is a root crop. Alright, and then the cycle will start over. The farmer can change up the crops. However, now there's an important point why it's very important to start with a nitrogenous plant, a leguminous plant. The thing with legumes, those plants from the bean and peas family, is that they produce nitrogen in the soil, and nitrogen is used by leaf crops to grow their leaves. So very importantly, these plants contain a bacteria referred to as rhizobium or nitrogen fixing bacteria, and what these bacteria do is to fix the nitrogen gas from the atmosphere to nitrates in the soil, in the root nodules of those plants. Alright, so after you planted your legumes, the soil then would be rich in nitrogen, which is a nutrient that the plants would use, right? So it is very important to plant a leaf crop after your legume plants. Very, very important. Alright, so here you can see says crops are rotated on the land after each have been harvested. Very, very important. Now, there are many different types of crop rotation. This is just one form of it. Let us go into the other farming, the other non-conventional methods. So here we have hydroponics. So we finish with organic farming. We are now at number 2, hydroponics. Now, hydroponics is the practice of growing plants in nutrient solutions without the use of soil. Instead of the soil, the plants may be rooted in small amounts of peat, sand, or rock wool. Alright, so it is basically growing plants in liquid, a nutrient solution which is liquid. The liquid could be moving water, it can be still water hydroponics. However, in our example, we will look at a moving water hydroponics. Alright, so with this system, it has a number of important parts. You need to know them. Alright. One part of the hydroponics system here is that here you have the water reservoir. So this container is what would contain the water solution with the nutrients and other important chemicals to balance the pH of the soil. Alright, so here is a water reservoir, very important. Now, here is a container that would hold the plants in place. And this is where the water would be supplied, and it would run in this tube and then go back into this reservoir here. So this is the second part, which is the container that holds the plants. Alright. The third important part is the water pump. So with the hydroponic system, it is installed with a water pump that will suck water from this reservoir and take it up to this container with the plants and supply the plants with nutrients and water. Please note that the roots of the plants would be in this water that is constantly moving. Alright? So those are the main parts. The water reservoir, the water pump, the container with the plants, and the plants. Alright? Very important. Alright, so key points with the hydroponic system. Number 1, hydroponic system use little land space. So very important, it can be placed in the yard and veranda. It can be done in a greenhouse. It can accommodate vertical farming, etc. Number 2, the water pump is put in place to help move the water from the reservoir to the plants. Alright? And number 3, water going to the plants is rich in nutrients. So remember that water from the reservoir is rich in nutrients. When it's going, that water is going to the plants, it will have a lot of nutrients for the plant. However, number 4, water leaving the plants and going back to the reservoir has little to no nutrients. Alright, so once that water goes to the plants will take out the nutrients, else filter out the water, filter out the nutrients out of the water. So the water going back to the reservoir would have small amount of nutrients. Alright, number 5, nutrients may be inorganic. So in this system, inorganic fertilizers are used. Alright. Number 6, water solution will become acidic or alkalinic after a while, so regular pH testing should be done. Number 7, an alkaline substance that can be added is baking soda. So if your water is acidic, then you can add baking soda to neutralize it. Alright. Number 8, an acidic substance that can be added is lime water. So if your water gets too alkaline, then you can add lime water to balance the pH or to neutralize the solution. Alright, so let's move to another non-conventional farming method. Alright, the third one here is aquaponics. Now, the aquaponics, this involves the rearing of aquatic animals along with a hydroponics system. Alright, so aquaponics here means water. Alright, so we're talking about animals that live in water, such as your crayfish, your fish, etc. Alright, so of course the aquaponics system is a modification of the hydroponic system. So let us look at the parts and what is different with the aquaponic system and the regular hydroponic system. Alright, the aquaponic system comprises of all the parts of the original hydroponic system that we looked at, right? So it have the containers for the plants, it have your drain pipe, it have a reservoir, it have a water pump, alright, and it have pipes that take back water to these plants. However, the important modification is that in the reservoir, fish or other aquatic animals would be raised there. Alright, so this system has aquatic animals in it. In this case, in this diagram, we have fish. Alright, alright, so it has some important points. The difference is that no inorganic fertilizer is used in this system. The fish here would produce all that waste, all that nutrients that the plants are used, that the plants would use up here. Alright, so all that nutrients would come from the fish, and this system is organic. Alright, so you would not use inorganic nutrients in this system or on the plants. Alright, this system also can be housed in greenhouses, it can be done indoor, it can be done vertically, etc. So let us look at some important points. Alright, so key points with the aquaponics system. Number one, nutrients from the plants are supplied by the waste from the fish, the aquatic animals, alright? So the nutrients come from the fish. Number two, it is organic farming. No inorganic fertilizers is added to this system. Very important. Number three, the raw waste from the aquatic animals, fish, can be applied immediately to the plants because it produces its own fungi that breaks down the waste and make it safe. Unlike raw chicken manure, has to be broken down for 9 months before use because it contains salmonella and E. coli bacteria that can be transferred to us via the plants. So what this is saying is that with this type of farming, the waste from the fish can be used immediately on the plants to fertilize the plants. And unlike chicken waste, you do not use the raw chicken waste on your plants. You'll allow that waste to be broken down for 9 months because the salmonella and E. coli bacteria that can be contracted by humans, they are present in the raw chicken waste, and it is not safe to use the raw chicken waste on the plants immediately. Alright? But with the aquatic animals waste, you can use that waste immediately on the plants because it produces its own fungi that break down those harmful bacteria. Alright, point number four, aquaponic system can be done indoor. Alright, so it can be done indoor, it uses less land space, and it can be done vertically. Alright, so let us move to another system. Alright, so the nutrient film technique. The nutrient film technique is a hydroponic system that supplies plant roots with nutrients and excess oxygen. Alright, so the nutrient film technique, again, as you can see, it is an hydroponic system. However, it is slightly modified that more oxygen is added to this system. That's the main difference. Alright, so let's look at this diagram. So as I said, it is an original hydroponic system, but it has a modification. What you can see is that added to the system is an air pump. Alright, so to the reservoir, with the nutrient film technique, you would add a water pump to the system. And this water pump will add more oxygen to the nutrient solution. Now, the more oxygen the plants get, the quicker they will mature. Alright, so this system is very, very efficient and productive, very fast. Alright, so the key points with nutrient film technique is that number one, an air pump is added to the reservoir to supply more oxygen to the nutrient solution. Number two, oxygen helps plants grow faster by helping them to respire more. Right? So the oxygen here would increase respiration of the plants, which is the production of energy, etc. All right, number three, inorganic fertilizer is used. All right, so in this system, inorganic fertilizers, there are 2020, other water soluble nutrients are used. Number four, the system can be done vertically, so it can be done vertically. So vertical farming can be practiced with this system. All right, growth boxes. Growth boxes. This is an enclosed structure that is used to grow the plants in. It normally consists of an irrigation system, a light, and a ventilation system. Let's look at this diagram. All right, so this is a box that is created here. All right, so this is your growth box. Now your growth box is affixed with shelves, the light bulbs for light, for photosynthesis. You have holes for ventilation, for airflow, right? Containers that collect excess water down here. So of course, you have your water supply system that would supply water to the plants, and another container that collect the water here. And you have fans for ventilation. All right, so it is a box, but it is equipped with all the equipment to provide the right conditions for the plants to grow in. And this can be kept indoor, on your veranda, in your house, etc. Alright, trough culture is the next farming method. Alright, trough culture. Trough culture involves growing crops in shallow bins 15 to 20 centimeter deep and 60 to 70 centimeter wide. Alright? So the trough culture, the troughs are basically some bins that are made. You can make them out of wood, plastic, concrete, etc. Alright, troughs can be filled with an inert soilless medium such as rock wool and are connected to a drip system which supplies water and nutrients in solution. So after you make those troughs, you can put your soil in it and you can add an irrigation system to it. So let's take a look at this diagram. Alright, so here is your trough, which is this box, but it has specific measurements. Alright, your trough has specific measurements. So the height of the box or depth is 20 centimeter in this diagram. Alright, width is 70 centimeter here. So this is your trough here, and in that trough it is filled with soil. So here you have your soil medium here. And of course, you can install a water supply system, which is this system here, to supply the plants with water. So you have your plants here, your measurement of your troughs, and your water supply system. Now this system, these troughs or bins can be made and placed in your greenhouse, inside your homes, etc. Alright, you can make them vertically as well, etc. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, the next farming method, the next non-conventional farming method is urban and peri-urban farming. So as you know, this is the cultivation of small areas of land, usually less than 2 acres, in or near cities, towns, and villages, and on buildings. So you can farm close to those buildings or even on those buildings. So let us look at this diagram. Alright, so as you can see, this is an area that has a lot of houses. Now the farms here are built are practiced around or close in close vicinity to those buildings, as you can see. Here you can also see on this building, which is a deck roof, you have farming being done on the roof. Alright, so those are using up less land space and using up more air space. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, the next one here is containerized gardening. Alright, very important for persons living in the cities, for those persons who want to take farming closer to them, closer to their home. This is a very suitable method. Alright, so containerized gardening is the cultivation of crops in any available container, such as drum, bottles, etc. Any available container. Alright, so let's look at this diagram. As you can see, we have different containers with plants. Of course, your containers should be perforated. It should have holes in the bottom for drainage. Alright, you want excess water to be drained and more air also in the soil for respiration. So we have a different type of container here and a different type here. Alright, so persons can use your drink bottles, your buckets, your drums, your PVC pipes to make different containers for your farming. Alright. Now, the last technology that we will look at is the greenhouse technology. Now, the greenhouse technology is a building structure primarily made of glass or sheets or clear plastic in which temperature and humidity can be controlled for the cultivation or protection of plants. So, the greenhouse is basically a building. Alright. Let us look at this diagram. This is a greenhouse. Let's look at the UV plastic or glass. So on the top, you could have UV plastic that will take rain off the plants or snow. It could be glass as well. Alright, on the side, you have a perforated mesh, which is it is filled with holes. Alright, for air to come through. But it limits the passage of insects, such as your siran. So your siran can be used on the side. Alright. Now here, the structure is the entrance. So you would equip it with your entrance and a footbath to the entrance. Alright, so persons coming in would wash their feet, etc. to prevent biodiversity or the transfer of other diseases to your plants from one area. Also, you have your vents. So your vent is openings to allow hot air to come through. You can also have fan inside. You can put in your irrigation system on this greenhouse inside. You could put a thermometer along with your computer to monitor the temperature. You could put inside a misting system to cool your plants, etc. Alright, so key points of the greenhouse. Number one, it is designed to keep out diseases and pests. Very important. Unlike the open farm and the monoculture, they are done openly. Alright. Number two, it can accommodate other farming methods such as hydroponic systems, your container farming, trough culture, etc. Number three, other systems can be added to it in order to help with different production. For example, irrigation system, ground cover, automated temperature control system, fans, and other ventilation systems. So all these non-conventional methods, they have a lot of advantages and they can be modified to suit your needs. Alright, for the summary, number one, so we have four main points. Number one, agricultural science is a broad field of study that consists agriculture. Alright, number two, pre-colonial agriculture was subsistent and primitive. Number three, colonial agriculture was commercial and farming methods conventional, for example, monoculture, etc. Number four, post-colonial agriculture is both subsistent and commercial, and farming methods are non-conventional. It uses less land space and more technology. Alright, so we are at the end of the lesson. And in order to get automatic update of videos, please subscribe to the channel. But not only, please hit the bell icon. So it is important that you know that you can actually subscribe to the channel, but you do not receive videos. In order to receive all your videos, the bell icon, it has three options. Ensure you hit the all option. So you might see private, you might see none. You want to hit the all option to get all the videos. If you do not, you will not get all the videos automatically. And also, please tell a friend or two about the channel. Thank you for watching.